Hey everyone. Okay, this might end up being a super short meeting. I haven't made any changes because I haven't been able to come back to the spec since before supercomputing. I've got notes from Paul Paul, you're here, good. That I need to sort of go back and fix the spec. That's the status at my end. Um, And it turns out I even had another follow-on meeting with the ARM people in a different context. So I'm waiting on the results of that. That's basically the story from me. Paul, you said, yeah, I got your follow-up email. I'm going to get to it hopefully by this weekend or early next week. But I will sort of, I'm going to hack at taking one more rev with the spec, hopefully by before I leave, go out of town next week.
Yeah, there's no hurry, Poppy. That's fine. I just want to make sure that I ask my questions and I get them
Yeah,
resolved. And you're doing a great job of that. So, whenever you update the spec, that's fine. There's no hurry. I
thank
did
you.
run into one new thing though that I would like to present to the group here, right? And that is addressing.
Please.
Um, like everything in the spec is double word. And by that I mean 64 bits. All the data registers are 64 bits wide, but that's not necessarily true in the proprietary private set of registers. And so there's kind of no support at the moment in the spec for doing non-double word accesses, right? Like even the addresses that you have in there, they're implied to be double word addresses from the way they increment when you move from one double word to the next. Um,
Yes.
right. And so there, what I'm looking for is kind of like byte enables and some indication of the address not being double words, right? And so one approach, and then my top level question is this something that you just want to leave to the proprietary guys, right? I mean, this is only related to the proprietary instructions because again, everything in the spec is double words, so it doesn't really matter. But when I need to
Mm,
access my registers are not 64 bits wide, and so I need to come up with a mechanism to do that. And I'm fine making that proprietary, right? That I just say, okay, when you're accessing my registers, my address space looks different than it does when you're accessing the public registers. But it might be
really good
nice,
point.
right? But it
Okay.
might be nice to have them be consistent, right? That we do kind of like you make the addresses be byte addresses, right?
I
Which
was
is
going to
kind of
ask, could we do something stupid like that and just call it a day?
well, we still need byte enables, right? Or a transfer size or something, right? To indicate that, when you're doing a write, and I give you this byte address, okay, so do I write 1 byte? Do I write 2 bytes? Do I write, a word? You need some indication of what entity you're trying to access. And there's different ways of doing that, right? The different standards, around they have different ways of doing this, but we don't have any. And again, that leads me to have to do something special for proprietary stuff. And I'm happy to do that, right? I just wonder if we should like think about doing something more universal. But I don't know if this is making sense to everybody.
This is making a lot of sense.
Okay.
And I will let uh, Brian. Brian usually has rational opinions. Uh, Brian Quinn, Boon Chong, any thoughts? Boon Chong, it's midnight in Malaysia, so I'm always afraid to win.
Yeah,
Being him too hard. It's a miracle
I'm
you're up, man.
physically here. Yeah. Mhm.
Um, byte address. I think the only sort of gut the question I have is the thing I don't understand, maybe rather than the question I have is how complex does that make? Do we start throwing in what do we have to do to make everything to add this ability to sort of specify whether it's a double word right or a byte word? What more do we support? Byte, 16 bits and 32 and 64, half word and word and double word. That's it. Those are the options we support somehow.
Right. Yeah, that was what I was thinking. That would be sufficient for my needs, right? I don't actually do byte addresses, but I do everything above that. And but making the solution general, right? That would be, I think, the ideal thing. If we're going to go ahead and solve this problem, we might as well do it the right way.
Do you think that's a static or dynamic per transaction thing?
Yeah. So in my case, I was going to make it be kind of static. I was going to have a register that you wrote, because there's no fields available right in the message, right? So I can't contain the like transfer size in the message. Like the way AMBA does this is they include a transfer size, right, in their AHB protocol. There's a, it's the bus is however wide you want it to be, but you can access something smaller than that, and there's a field in the protocol called transfer size that says, this address is a byte address and it's pointing to something, and the transfer size tells you how many bytes you're trying to access, read or write. And so I had that transfer size in a CSR register inside my guy, and so the other side can write that register, right, to change it. Because again, I don't have any way to do this dynamically in the message, so someone's got to set that up beforehand. And so I'm going to have.
You could. I mean, really, we're only talking about the Bose sideband protocol here, right? We're not talking about the instruction message fields at this point.
No, that's right. Yeah, these are only proprietary registers, right? Like I
No,
said,
what I mean is the changes we would make would apply to the Bose sideband protocol, nothing else. If I understand it correctly, if I understand what you're saying correctly.
As opposed to what's the bigger entity?
So we wouldn't have to touch any of our public instructions.
Oh, right.
Right. We
Yes.
wouldn't have to touch any of the interaction on the PMR, the partner message register.
Right. Yes.
We would touch just the sideband stuff.
Yes, correct. I agree.
So one stupid way to do that would be to just make the messages longer by I mean, the thing that bugs me about the protocol right now is a 2-bit command, and maybe just going for a 4-bit command or something will solve a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah. My suggestion would just be put a transfer size in there. Make the address be a byte address, and maybe you want to increase the width by a couple more bits so that you don't lose any address space.
So then we'd be adding 4. So here, let me share my screen.
Right, and then I would recommend putting a transfer size in there, right, to say
just
how
so
many
we're
bytes.
Clear. This is the part we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean,
so in that case, you make this a nibble instead of 2 bits.
No, I would just put a transfer size, another field in the thing, because I don't want to overload, because then you have to double it for reads and writes, right? You need to double the size of the commands.
But don't you have the same? Don't you want to also on a transfer size on the reads as well?
You do, but if you make a transfer size field, you only have to do it once. Right, the number of bits required, right, is half, right? If you put a transfer size field, and because it applies to both writes and reads.
Wait, where would you put the transfer size field? Not in the message itself, is it?
No, yeah. I would just add a field here, and in addition to the address, I would say transfer size or something like that.
Command. Okay, so the net effect is the same. Like if you're going to burn 2 or 4 bits on the transfer size or something.
Right. You're going to add some extra bits, right?
But then I would rather just. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Okay, so basically, if you just make that command, you can sort of use it any which way you want it later, right?
Yes.
Right now we're using it to transfer size, but then the other combinations we could use. So the question is, do we make it like a 4-bit command or an 8-bit command?
You're right. Yeah. Either way works. It's all personal preference, I guess.
So because then if this becomes one, the 1101, if we ever wanted to expand it later, we could do something nasty with it if we felt like it.
Right.
Okay, so that's that. So just increase the message size but then I have to redraw the diagrams, man. That's even way like just the worst outcome possible. I think the ECC works even now. For this, I think he can support more bits in the ECC in the Hamming code. I think so.
Yeah, definitely. This will cover 128 bits.
Yeah, it should.
Right. Yeah, and just one thing I bumped into while we're at this picture, right? So on the bottom one, the message, the where you have the raw stuff, right? The leftmost blue field which says message 84 to 59. But
Yes.
that should be 85.
Oh man. All right. You're making sure that I have to redraw this sucker now. All right, fine.
That's right. Yeah. That's just another thing I bumped into.
All right. All right, so should I expand this to 4 bits or 8? Anybody have any opinions?
Given that this is a sideband, I would give the future space and add a couple extra bits.
Wait, you want this to be 4 or 8? So add 2 or go command to 4 bits or go command to 8 bits?
I would go to 8 bits and reserve 4 for now.
All right.
You need 2 more to get the size range
Yes.
for byte through double.
And then, like, if they're doing this, I guess it makes sense to make this a multiple of 8 and go to 24 bits on the address. That takes care of the.
Well, to get the same address coverage, you need to add 3 more bits here.
Yeah, so then we'd be a weird number like 23. Might as well make it 24, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that works. Well, does that meet your needs?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. And so then the only other thing is we should probably be kind of explicit about where the bytes are. Right. So suppose you're accessing a byte, right? You give the write command to do a byte. So the write data, does it show up in its natural location? Right? Does it walk across the 8 bytes of the 64-bit data field?
Oh,
Or is it like shifted to the right side where it's always the least significant thing, right? That's another thing that we should be explicit about. My preference is have it show up in its natural place, right? That's the way most of the buses do it in the world, right? But again, we should be clear about whether when it is a byte, because you do it either way. Again, it's kind of like it's up to you, right? There's nothing right or wrong about either way, but there are 2 kind of ways to solve this problem.
okay. Essentially, you're always reading 64 bits. It's just that you're dumbing out the portion that you don't read.
Well, not necessarily. Like my registers
No,
are
you're reading 8 bit. I'm sorry. You're always assuming you're going to get 64, the ability to get 64, but you're dumbing out the portions that you don't want or not going to get, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, they're just
yeah.
X's, right?
Yeah.
You should not even look at them.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that's all I wanted to say. That solves all my problems.
Perfect. Okay.
Wait, but did you say you wanted the data to be aligned within the 64 based on the address?
Yeah, correct. Like if the byte address was 7, the data would show up in bits 63 through 56 or something like that.
Got it. Yes.
Right. And that's just because it naturally aligns with most of the protocols I've seen there, the bus protocols I've seen.
I agree. I just wanted to make sure we were.
Yeah. Saying the same thing. Yep.
So and the modes we want are right now byte, half word, word, and double word, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is that for reads and writes?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Anything else?
No, not for me this week.
All right. Brian, you with us? No.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here.
Oh.
I'm having technical issues this morning. Yeah, that sounds fine to me as well.
Okay. Anything else on your mind? Other than, can you please get the thing signed?
Was it not signed already?
Well, maybe it was.
Uh,
I got something from Andrew, but maybe you sent it directly to Michael. But
it would have come from my boss. So again, I thought he did it. So let
okay,
me. I'll
that's
see
fine.
if I
If you
can
did, you did.
tie
Then
up.
I'll check with Michael. All right. Quinn, anything else?
No.
All right. Boon Chong?
No, not for me.
All right. In that case, I'm going to give you all 40 minutes back of your day, and so hopefully see you all next week. I think I'm in town. Yeah. The week after I'm not, but next week I'm in town. So then we will adjourn this.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.